Hello, and welcome back. Today we're going to continue the all-time records series with the Colorado Avalanche. Much like teams that have already been covered that have relocated, the Colorado Avalanche history will include the Quebec Nordiques, where they had relocated from back in 1996 and famously had won the Stanley Cup that year. I do expect that some of these numbers are going to be a little bit lower, but we'll see. Just because I know that the Nordiques were never a really great team and they were largely a poorly managed team, which is why they had relocated to Colorado. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on over here. I'm going to go like this. So to anybody who's curious, I have an OBS that's controlling all of this. And I have certain things hotkeyed, so if it looks like I'm awkwardly fiddling, that's just to get everything to move to where it needs to. You know, all that fun stuff. So, the Colorado Avalanche and Quebec Nordiques have been around for 42 seasons, and of those 42 seasons, they have made 27 playoff appearances, so that's not bad. They have 2 Stanley Cups. I do have an asterisk there because currently they are in the Stanley Cup final with the Tampa Bay Lightning, deciding on who's going to win the Cup this year. So that number 2 may turn into a number 3. So yeah, that's the only reason that asterisk is there. They do have 10 retired numbers. They are 3, 8, 16, 19, 21, 23, 26, 33, 52, and 77. They do have positive records against 24 other teams in the NHL. I did find that a little bit surprising, but not entirely. We'll go through that when we get to that part. So between the two locations, the franchise has played 3,316 total games. Of those, 1,560 are wins. 1,346 are losses, 261 are ties, and 149 are overtime losses. So, like every video so far, I took total wins, and then the losses are a combination of losses, ties, and overtime losses to get a total number. So that's 1,560 wins versus 1,756 total losses for a win percentage of about 47%. I don't know, I can't remember if I've pointed this out in previous videos. When I'm looking at the win percentage, I'm looking at true win percentage, so wins versus total games. I'm not looking at overtime loss points or dividing points for ties, nothing like that. It's just the straight result. So when we go over to the breakdown of all the teams' records, I found a couple things that were interesting with these guys' record. The first thing that immediately stood out when I set this all up is that they have winning records against every team in their division except for the Nashville Predators. And they're not that far off, a couple good seasons, and they'll have Nashville included on that list. The one that kind of surprised me was the Arizona Coyotes, but not overly. Go away. There we go. So at the top, a couple things that I did notice is that they do, like a lot of teams, like playing in the opposite conference. So the Columbus Blue Jackets have very little, like almost no success playing against the Colorado Avalanche. And the Florida Panthers haven't had much luck with that either. Nothing really that hugely stands out as far as like goal differentials or anything like that. But there's a lot of Eastern teams that are at the top of that list, and then the divisions right in the middle. But they are winning records, so yeah, it's got to make you feel pretty good about being an Avalanche fan. I would say arguably that would mean that historically in the Central Division, you would argue that yeah, they're arguably one of the top 2 teams overall. But we'll get to that. as time goes on. And right now, they're a team that's building success, so that's always a nice thing too. One team that they, sorry, one, two, three teams, I would say the Montreal Canadiens, Boston Bruins, and Washington Capitals really aren't teams that they have had really much success, but they're not like miserable records, which is what I found interesting. There's a disparity of about 10 to 12 wins versus losses. That's not bad even on a losing record. So that means that they are still finding ways to try and get their points no matter where they are. But definitely there's teams that they much prefer playing than others. A lot of their win or goals for, goals against typically look like they're on par. I don't see any negative. There's a break even with the New York Islanders, so 297 for 297. But the record difference is pretty small there. The St. Louis Blues are break even as well. So they don't have anything that suggests that something's broken. I find that having a negative goal differential against a winning team or a winning record team is one thing. I always found it weird if there's a positive goal differential against a team that you have a negative record against. But numbers are weird sometimes. So I would say, yeah, as a Colorado Avalanche fan, there was a time I can recall when the team went through a low point and they seemed to rebound from that quite nicely. Obviously, having players like Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar coming in, having a goaltender like Francouz and I think Kemper's the other goaltender. I can't remember right off the top of my head. But this is a team that's built to gain traction. The addition of Nazem Kadri obviously didn't hurt that either. So this is a team that's looking at improving most of these records. And I would say over the next 3 to 5 years, they will be one of the better teams. So all of these are likely to just go up. So you got to feel pretty good as an Avs fan. Who knows, maybe in a couple weeks, I'll be doing a video about, not going to jinx it, but it would be a good video for Avalanche fans to want to see. And that would make it feel pretty good, especially since that would be their third Stanley Cup in really not that long of a time span. They've had a pretty, I would say a pretty successful campaign since moving to Colorado. Especially getting away from Quebec seemed to have just immediately done wonders that I don't think they ever would have gotten if they had stayed in Quebec. So that's got to be probably the best thing that ever happened to them, which is not uncommon, right? Most franchises, when they relocate, it's with the intention of turning success and actually becoming profitable, competitive, supported, that kind of thing. So I'd say all in all, a big thumbs up to how the Colorado Avalanche have managed their history. All teams are going to go through a low point eventually. Seems like they've cleared their first real low point, and it doesn't look like they'll be going back anytime in the foreseeable future. So I'd say, yeah, as an Avs fan, you got to be pretty happy with the history of this franchise. That being said, if you did like the video, please drop a like. If you'd like to see more, please feel free to subscribe. If you want to chat more, I'll get this eventually. Like, everything's backwards. So I'm trying to point to this little guy down here. So my Twitter is at CPTJohnny15 because Captain Johnny wouldn't fit. If you want to talk more hockey, that's the best place to do that. And until the next video, which, looking at my list, appears to be Columbus, stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, and thank you, and all the best.